Panic. It crept up my spine like first rising vibes of an acid frenzy.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is a special tag video that I'm doing specifically because we created a tag and as an excuse to share something with you that have already been shared lots, but share it with you again, and it's a fun tag. So I haven't been tagged in this at all, so I'm voluntarily doing this because it's originally created by Pax Panic. Pax Panic. So this is the panic tag. So I'm doing this really so I can talk about the GoFundMe page again. So there's going to be a link in the description about the GoFundMe page. And the GoFundMe page is all about if you know Pax or you want to check out Pax's channel. And, you know, if you just start watching her videos for a few minutes, then you're bound to grow to love her and you'll want to support her and send her some help, financial help for the treatment she's going to be getting for her cancer diagnosis. So this has rocked all of us on the little corner of booktube that we live in because we love Pax very much. And the GoFundMe page has done extremely well so far, but obviously the more help we can give her, the better. So this tag is really just another excuse to remind you about the GoFundMe page, but it's a great tag. So this was a tag that was created by Pax, and it's all about fear. It's all about panic and the different phobias basically, and there's 7 prompts, and these 7 prompts are different phobias, and the idea is that you link a book to a prompt based on each of these phobias. I would normally have the books with me, but I'm doing this at work so I want to do it quickly so I can figure out when to put it up, but these are all books I own, so but I'm going to put pictures of the books up there instead. So I'm going to move my body a little bit so I'm not going to get in the way of the cover. But anyway, let's crack on with the prompts. So the first one, probably a very common one, is arachnophobia. So I don't seem to have arachnophobia. I'm not a massive fan of spiders, but I can have them on my hand and I don't get freaked out if I see them. But I wouldn't want to have one as a pet. But anyway, arachnophobia, fear of spiders. Name a book with a ton of characters. So for that, I'm picking Needful Things by Stephen King. So I like this book a lot, actually, and some people don't like it. They don't like how much it kind of delves into the lives of the community that the book's about. And it's quite a common thing for Stephen King to do, to characterise every small character in the book to death. And I think often he does it well. So I think it is one of his qualities, but it is also one of his criticisms. And sometimes he can overdo it. And I think Needful Things has had that criticism, but I really liked it. I really, really liked it. It's one of my favourite Stephen King books. So Needful Things, I love the plot. I love the concept of it. I like a lot of the characters, and not as people, but as characters, you know what I mean? And I like the way the plot develops. And it just gripped me all the time. It is a long book, so you know, if you'd have shaved 150 pages off it, it wouldn't have damaged it. But I don't think it's like really bad for that. So Needful Things is my response to Arachnophobia, a book with a ton of characters. This next one, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce it properly, and I was going to look it up, but I haven't done that. So the second prompt is Coulrophobia, fear of clowns. So this is a really common phobia, something I don't really get, but it's a very common phobia. Name a book with a ridiculous or funny scene. So this one is a book I absolutely love, but I haven't read it in ages. And there's one scene that I'll always remember. It's a Robert Sheckley book. It's called Damocles. And Robert Sheckley, I try and champion on the channel because I really like him a lot. I was a bit freaked out recently, but I read something that had some dated language in it, which I didn't expect. But he's full of fantastic ideas. And his most famous thing is possibly Immortality Inc., maybe State of Civilization, maybe, but he's got some fantastic books, and a lot of them are really funny. Mind Swap's really funny. The Alchemical Marriage of Alistair Compton's really funny, and Damocles is very funny. But there's this one scene that is very typical of him, very surreal. It's very fourth wall, and this is when one of the servant girls in the plot realizes that they've got not a lot to do in the story, and this is like they've only got this one page that they're going to be in this book, and they're not really happy about that. They want a bigger role, so they extend their role in the book and confuse the other characters around them. I like that. So yeah, that's a scene I really like, and I've always remembered that scene, and I've read that at least 30 years ago, if not more, probably 35 years ago, something like that. So Damocles by Robert Sheckley. Question number 3 is acrophobia, fear of heights. Name a book that changed your view of something. So for this one, I'm picking Understanding the European Union. That one there. It's a really interesting and important book, and it was a really important book for me. So I did a course, a humanities course. It was a bunch of different things. It was philosophy, history, communication studies, and European studies. And European studies was basically the creation of Europe as a political entity and the EU. So kind of like the EC, then that became the EU, and more about what the EU did, why it did what it did, how democratic it was, and was it democratic, which bits of it were democratic, that kind of thing. And I learned a lot about the EU in that unit, and I'm really pleased I did, because fast forward 10 years after that, then we get Brexit, and the amount of crap that people said about the EU during the Brexit debate was shocking. People just didn't know what it was. And actually, before Farage came along, nobody gave a toss. Nobody even questioned what the EU was. I mean, sadly, they didn't get involved in some of the democratic elements of the EU, but they didn't appreciate what the EU did, and they didn't understand that it was maintaining lots of really important rights and lots of fair and just treatment of different types of people. It did all sorts of things, as well as helping underdeveloped countries financially and having this sort of collective well-being thing going on in Europe. So there was all sorts of reasons why the EU does do some good stuff, and it was just sort of watered down into this horrific debate when the Brexit was happening. And whatever side you sit on with the Brexit vote, the debate was shocking. It was so polemic and just people just shouting abuse at each other, and it's such a shame. And a lot of people, if they'd read that book, they might have had a more reasoned argument, at least either way. And I did learn a lot about EU in that period when I was studying the European Studies unit. So there we go. So that's my response number 3. Number 4, Tripophobia. Tripophobia. That's how I'm saying it. Tripophobia, fear of holes. I love that, fear of holes. I love phobias. Some of them are hilarious. Fear of holes. Name a book with a plot hole. And I don't want to spoil the plot, but I would love it if people know what I'm talking about with this and comment below if you do get this. But Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter collaborate on a 5-part series of books that were based around the first conceptual book, which was The Long Earth. And there was like The Long Utopia, The Long Mars, I think, and The Long all sorts of things. The Long Earth was the first one. And I was really enjoying it. It's about parallel universes, and I was really enjoying it. And then towards the end, about 30 pages before the end, something happens in it that you just go, what? That can't happen? Can it? If that happened, why weren't you doing that before? It's just a really naff plot device that really spoiled it for me. So I was enjoying it, and I don't normally notice like really minor plot holes, but that was such a contradictory element of the book that I was very disappointed. So it spoiled the enjoyment for me in a lot of ways, because it kind of just devalued the peril of the rest of the book. So The Long Earth by Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter is my vote for a plot hole. So prompt number 5, Misophobia. That's the fear of germs. Fear of germs. Name a book with the best infection or symptoms. So I can't not include I'm going to say this officially, my joint favourite book, I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. I love that book. And really, what I love most about it is the concept and the setting and the way it all is, the way it's, where it's contained and how it's contained in this area. So the character of Robert Neville isn't the best character of all time, and there's not a lot of other characters in it, but then that's part of the beauty of it. But I think that the sense of isolation, the horrible mental state he gets in because of this isolation and loneliness is fantastic, really portrayed well. But obviously for this prompt, the important thing is the infection. So he is alone because everybody else, or most people, have been infected by this kind of vampire infection. They become creatures of the night, and there's actually two different infected people in the plot, which is kind of interesting because I think a lot of people don't realise that. Certainly the films didn't portray that, but they didn't portray a lot of the book, to be fair. But there's two different strands going on, which is really important for the plot and for the final part of the plot and for the title of the book, in fact. So, fascinating, fantastic, wonderful book, I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. That's my answer to prompt number 5. Number 6 is Astrophobia, fear of lightning or thunder. So name a book that hits you hard. This is a funny one because I don't tend to read books that are very upsetting or depressing or linger on a sorrowful or downbeat tone. But there was a book I read which weirdly stayed in my mind and really kind of bothered me for a good couple of weeks, which is kind of interesting because it wasn't intended to do that. But there was something about the atmosphere, the tone of the book, the world that it presented to the reader, and the way that the imagery in the book was so powerful. And that's The Electric State. And there's a series of books that followed this, but this was the first one. And it was such a powerful book. Simon Sternhag has got this beautiful way of illustrating the books. They are graphic books. They are illustrative stories. And if you get a chance to have a look, if you absolutely relate to the illustrations, you'll fall in love with it. And I just think it was such a powerful experience reading the book. And it really did linger with me. So it really did hit me hard in the sense of it sort of stayed in my mind and kind of disturbed me for a while, weirdly. I don't think that was his intention, but it definitely disturbed me for a while. So Electric State by Simon Sternhag. And then the 7th one, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, Arachnophobia, which is fear of crowds. So fear of crowds, it's name a book with a place or a group of people that you hated. And for this one, I'm going to pay tribute to Pax. And the thing is with Pax is when she does her tags, they're really funny. She's just got absolute balls of energy. She's just this really energetic, lively, buzzing, gloriously entertaining booktuber. And what she says, you always want to hear it because it's also the way she says it. And when she does the tags, she's really keen. She really wants to do these tags. Let's do this. I'm up for this. And so many times she hasn't got an answer to the prompts. And she go, no, I haven't got anything for that. Never mind. And it's just really funny and it's brilliant. So if you watch her tags, it's quite a common thing for her to go, oh, I've done that again in my tag. And I'm doing that here because I haven't got an answer to this. So name a book with a place or group of people you hated. I can't think of any situation where I've hated a book. Hated a place or hated a group of people that I've read. Certainly in fiction. I mean, if you look at non-fiction, I'm not a particularly fan of Nazis. But, I think that's a very hard one for me to answer. So I'm going to do a Pax and say, no, I haven't got an answer for that. So, that's a little accidental tribute to Pax as well. So there we go. This is Pax's tag, the panic tag. It's all about books and phobias and thinking about books you'd recommend based on these prompts. But it's also about the GoFundMe page. That's why I'm doing it. So have a look on the description below. Check out Pax's channel, Pax Panic. And thanks for watching. Bye. Hey! Just gotta hold